Hello, everybody. The other day we saw John Wick 4. This is going to be a spoiler review, so we don't have to cover ourselves. And for once, I remembered to say that at the start. So, Aiden, what was the plot of John Wick 4?
John Wick Chapter 4 picks up basically exactly where the last left off. John Wick is pissed off the table of assassins, and he has to fight them, and to do so he fights a lot of people. He fights Donnie Yen as a blonde guy. He fights Donnie Yen as a blind guy, blind assassin. He fights many hundreds of just random assassins in this world of nothing but assassins assassinating assassins. No one has a regular job. Everyone's an assassin out to kill each other. And yeah, he has to reach the thing to fight the guy so that he can clear his name and restore his friend's hotel, and he kills a lot of people in a lot of action scenes. Connor, what'd you think of John Wick 4, John Wick Chapter 4?
I thought John Wick Chapter 4 was the best one since number 1. Number 2 and 3 have the problem, especially of meandering and not really continuing the story, just adding to an overly convoluted lore. The first movie's simple. Guy gets a dog from his wife. The dog dies, and he's fucking pissed, so he kills everybody. And then in the later movies, he just becomes a guy who really enjoys dogs and keeps, through a comedy of errors, becoming more and more wanted by the table of assassins for killing random people or killing the wrong person or killing on continental grounds, which is a sacred assassin thing, even though the continental grounds can just like easily and quickly be obliterated or desanctioned. But regardless, my point is the lore just gets increasingly convoluted as time went on. And this movie isn't not guilty of that, but at least this movie bothers to push John Wick's story forward to an extent when compared to number 2 and 3, which is just nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm not being a hater. I enjoy 2 and 3 as fun action movies.
2 and 3 is that he fights more guys, and then he kind of gets away, and then in the next one he has to fight more guys.
And then he kind of gets away. And in this movie, John Wick has to fight more guys, but then he passes away at the end.
Probably.
This one has the best action in the series. Strictly from an adrenaline standpoint, it is constant action, almost to a fault because the movie's nearly 3 hours.
The action is incredible, yes. But
there are points that can be cut out, like the Osaka fight scene was really cool. And the one with Scott Adkins was really cool. And the one with Donnie Yen was cool, and the top-down one was cool.
And the stairs.
And I can talk about cool action scenes all day because there's like fucking 80 action set pieces that were all very well done and cool. And that's the same as the last two. The plot kind of strips back much motivation for John, and I'm also really confused why he wants to kill It the Clown so badly.
Because
I mean, he ultimately finds like this weird convoluted way where he gets a sponsor who allows him to challenge It the Clown to a duel, which will allow him to clear his ledger completely.
Yeah.
In terms of a duel, I don't really understand, because I don't understand why they would agree to this. Why the high table would be like, yeah, that's fine.
Because they have to. It's the rules, I guess.
It's the ancient rules.
That's what the hotel guy says. He's like, well, that's the rules. And then Bill Skarsgård is like, yeah, I guess so. They do it.
Right.
They,
John Wick might have gotten married to the girl to become an assassin for this clan, which would allow him to be in get in a old-timey duel. Like, the director definitely saw Barry Lyndon, because that last scene was an old-timey Barry Lyndon duel. I don't know. I have a lot to say. It's definitely the best one of the sequels, surely because it has action. But John Wick suffers from the fact that in a perfect world, even though I think 2, 3, and 4 are all at least decent movies, I almost wish they didn't exist. Partially for my nostalgia from randomly finding this movie at a dollar theater and then just kind of going one night because I was bored and being like, oh wow, that was kind of badass, and I had a pretty touching story that had an introduction and a conclusion, and it was fun and good. And in a way, they were always able to top the first John Wick, but perhaps not in the way that I would prefer.
yeah.
Which is creating a touching and good story with good action around it. They were always able to one-up the action, but they could never quite figure out what to do with the story, I feel like. And that problem isn't really solved in John Wick 4.
Not really.
So Aiden, what did you think of John Wick 4?
Well, off the bat, the action is incredible. Undeniably, every single action scene in this movie is incredible. Well shot, well lit, well fucking choreographed. I don't think there's a single action scene that isn't fucking incredible. From the simple fight on the stairs to the top-down one to the artificial waterfall with the weird fat suit guy. That one's probably the weakest one. The fights with Donnie Yen as the blind assassin. There's a lot going on, and all of the action it's very good. The action alone makes this a extremely, extremely good movie. But like you, I'm kind of struggling with what John Wick has become. And all the sequels are guilty of this, not just this one, but we've gone from a simple movie about some people who cross the wrong guy, and it's like a simple revenge movie and has really good action and it's stylish, to an increasingly weird and convoluted world of assassins that all seemingly do nothing but assassinate each other, that have this secret society of more assassins and hidden assassins and low-level assassins, and everyone's an assassin. We're in this increasingly just absurd video game plot world of Assassin City. And it's all kind of just ridiculous and tiring, and the story has just become an absolute fucking clusterfuck of weird lore that does nothing but establish reasons to have really cool fight scenes. And you kind of just wonder how we ended up at this point from the first movie. In a different series, I think this wild direction shift into a weird, awkward video game story would probably make these movies very unlikable to me, and yet the action and directing is so fucking good that I can't, you know, despite me personally being annoyed with the direction of the story and lack thereof, and the weird over-explaining and lore and all that other stuff, the action is so incredible. I can't help but love these movies, and this one, the action is the most incredible. It's a lot of fun to watch. The story and world are just a disaster now, but for a movie that's 2.5 hours of action scenes with 20 minutes of story chucked in there, it is always exciting, it is always well shot, every action scene's incredible, and I really like it despite that I wish I didn't. Yeah. Connor, would you recommend John Wick Chapter 4?
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie, but it's a little convoluted. But if you watch it, you're gonna have fun. Especially if you watch the last 3. I'm not gonna stop anyone from watching this. And the general consensus is that it's the best one in the series. That's not my opinion. Perhaps, well, I think fair, right? I think I have a valid reason, but you know, if you like John Wick primarily as a vessel for action, then it's probably gonna be your favorite one. So yes, I would recommend it. I think it's very good. However, I do have my reservations about the series as a whole. Aiden, would you recommend John Wick 4?
You know, I think you and me are kind of in the weird camp of people who actually saw the first movie first.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the first movie did okay, but it didn't do that well. And then the second and third movies were pushed like hell by the production companies.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people probably started with like 2 and 3 first, and this is just the normal for them. And then they go back, and John Wick 1 is just this quaint little thing, and they're like, what the fuck is this? But I undeniably love this movie. It is incredible action, despite my personal grievances with how this franchise is spiraled out of control. It undeniably is a very good excuse to make very good action. It's an easy recommend for me. It is one of the most fun movies of the year, and yep.
Now you can look forward to the future spin-offs, like the Donnie Yen spin-off that was teased in the post-credit scene.
Well, don't forget the
Ballerina,
the
final movie.
The Ana de Armas spin-off about a ballerina assassin in the assassin world, the Donnie Yen assassin. And technically, the movie doesn't confirm that John Wick is dead. It heavily implies it, but they did say initially that they were shooting John Wick 4 and 5 at the same time before deciding to just do 4, so...
Well, yeah, my understanding is John Wick, it was one of the rare things where there were 2 movies originally and they just merged it into one epic rather than you know,
I don't really see a place you could cleanly break this movie anyway.
No, not really. That was probably the problem from a story standpoint.
Even though it's heavily implied John Wick is dead, they still leave just the tiniest amount of wiggle room for themselves just in case. I mean, you don't see him die, and at the end when Lawrence Fishburne and the hotel guy are talking about him, Lawrence Fishburne says, do you think he's in heaven or hell? And then the guy says, I don't know. I just took that as a sign that, like, if they wanted to, he could just be somewhere else. If they wanted to. Maybe not, though. I'd prefer not, but...
They'll run through the spin-offs and then we'll see what happens. Oh, the spin-offs must be Ballerina must be some sort of prequel.
Set between 3 and
Or is it-
4.
Oh, is that what the?
Yes, that's official.
Got it.
And the Donnie Yen one will probably be the sequel or something.
Because apparently the post-credit scene, because there was the one plot I was kind of confused about where I was like, well, what happened to the girl who wanted revenge on Donnie Yen? So that kind of just got forgotten about, and then apparently the post-credit scene is like her like trying to assassinate Donnie Yen or something.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that could be interesting. I like Donnie Yen, so I'd be into a Donnie Yen led
yeah, we will see.
gun fu movie.
We will see.